As we told you, President Bola Tinubu has signed into law the 2026 Electoral Bill, now into law, and it is the Electoral Act for 2026. Joining us to discuss this amendment is Abdulazeez Abdulmalik Hussaini, a programs officer with Connected Development. We had him earlier, but we lost him, but he is back. Abdulmalik Hussaini, thank you for rejoining us.
Thank you, Muhammad Kudu.
As I was saying, President Tinubu was referring to the fact that the electoral process in the country is largely manual. You cast your vote manually, it is counted manually, and that the hue and cry now appears just to be the transmission. As someone who is from the civil society, how do you look at it?
Thank you very much for that question. I think the president's statement is a confirmation of an intentional injury to democracy. Because over the weeks, we've been talking about the Senate passing the electronic transmission as part of the amendments in the new Electoral Act. There was a move some weeks ago to say the electoral transmission was not omitted. Senators and members of House of Representatives raised concern about some alterations to what was agreed upon. Nigerians and the citizens were hopeful that with this sitting, we were going to have a revision that captures the concerns of the citizens of the country. But to our greatest surprise, what we are hearing from his submission in the clip you just played is that Nigerians have been played all along, and what he wanted to achieve was just to maintain the manual collation of ballots that were casted. So as far as we are concerned, this is very unfair, and I don't think we've had any leadership in the country that has been so negligent and carefree about the concerns of the citizens like we are seeing with this current administration, both on the executive side and on the legislative side. This is quite unfortunate, and I hope that with the way things are going, both the legislature, under the leadership of the Senate, are not intending by any means to lit this country on fire, because the concerns of the citizens who make democracy or keep democracy alive is being insulted and brazenly being justified to say it has been a manual system in the past. We've seen the challenges with that. Now the people are calling for an electronic transmission because technology cannot be undermined if we want a free and fair election. And never in the history of Nigeria have INEC ever had such a huge budget, which should enable them put all the infrastructure in place to accommodate the electronic transmission of election of votes.
Well, Abdulmalik,
for us at the civil society organization, this is the major concern.
Let's put this discussion in context. The context is the present 2026 Electoral Act that was amended and that was just signed into law. The section 60 subsection 3 is still there. Electronic transmission is there. But what is added is the proviso that in case of failure of the internet, for example, you go back to your Form EC8, the result that is there is what will be transmitted. So where will you say that government is taking Nigerians for a ride? I don't understand.
Thank you, Muhammad Kudu, for that point. And the point still remains the same, because what I am saying is the government has a penchant for making policies with a very huge loophole, which they can leverage at a later time. The interest of the country should be that with the huge budget that has been given to INEC, by now we should be talking about ensuring putting infrastructure in place to enable electronic transmission and not be talking about an alternative for when the network fails, or as the president says, in this era of computer manipulation, suggesting that they are anticipating or suspecting that there could be hacking of the system. This is not fair to us, but what we are saying is we should ensure that with the huge amount that has been given to INEC, especially in the budget, should be put to practical use and make provisions that will enable for the electronic transmission of election of votes. So we should not be talking about resorting to the usage of forms at this moment.
Yeah, Abdulmalik, I think I will put it to you again. As civil society, as a group, as a very formidable pressure group, I think it now behoves on you, the civil society, the media, of course, is already doing that, to make sure INEC is able to have the latest infrastructure, technology, and whatever, so that at the end of the day, there may not be any need to revert back to the manual transmission. Can that be done?
Kudu, we are going to continue to put our pressure on government and on INEC to ensure that the right thing is done. But what we are saying is we have always left a lacuna in our policies that will be leveraged at the instance that any aggrieving or any grieving party feels that they are not comfortable with the direction the voting is going, and as such will leverage that lacuna to say this. And that is what we don't want at this moment. We are saying the law and the act should be very clear that electronic transmission is going to be the source for collation of we've seen countries like South Africa that have less budgets than INEC doing this, and they are doing it perfectly. Why is it a challenge with Nigeria, Muhammad Kudu? We'll continue to do our best, but we are saying we don't want the lacuna in that law. Thank you.
What do you do now? What is the next move? It's now an act of the National Assembly.
Can you take that again?
I said, where do we go from here? It is now an act of the National Assembly. The provision is there with the proviso of falling back from EC8. But there is electronic transfer, or rather the provision for electronic transfer.
We'll continue to put pressure as we wish to, and as we've been doing. But at this moment, we say, and that was why I opened with saying it is an injury to democracy.
Well, Abdulazeez Abdulmalik Hussaini, Program Officer with Connected Development, thank you so much for your insights, and we wish you luck.
Thank you so much.